Wildlife veterinarian Dr. Mickey Sneed and registered veterinary technician Victoria are preparing to stabilize a fracture in this painted turtle shell. And yes, those are zip ties.
So this painted turtle came in because unfortunately she was hit by a car. She came in immediately and we did a quick triage, which means looking at where the fractures are, if they're bleeding, stabilizing her with old fluids, pain meds, and then doing x-rays to basically see where the fractures are, how significant the trauma is, seeing if there's any involvement with their abdomen, which is called the cela, all of their organ content, everything is, and then seeing if they're graphic, which means that they have eggs. And yeah, this painted turtle has some eggs. So during this time, this period, kind of right before summer, late spring, it's nesting season for turtles, our native turtles here to Ontario. So what the moms do is basically carry all of their eggs to a nesting site, and sometimes they do travel a little bit. If unfortunately humans have built in their habitats, so they sometimes have to cross roads to find the perfect nesting spot for them.
Sadly, this leaves many with fractured shells after collisions with cars, fractures that need to be repaired with surgery.
Basically, we look at how the fracture is aligned and how we can kind of pull it together. So in this case, I decided to use zip ties, which are a really clever way of being able to pull edges together so that they bind and heal properly. So I had to affix two fixators on the front and the back of the fracture site, basically, so I could pull all the edges together. We fixed it with an epoxy that's very safe for the turtle shells. We wait for that to dry, and then the zip ties in. It basically sort of zip tying, which creates some tension to close and sort of glue the edges together of the fracture. Then we basically just wait to make sure that it holds and it dries, and then she can go back into sort of her recovery. So there's definitely different kind of ways of doing fracture repairs in turtle shells. Sometimes it depends on like the size of the turtle. Sometimes it depends on where the fracture site is. If it's like a nice line, if it's kind of like jagged or sharp. Basically, you just need the edges to come together.
The zip tie technique is used on shells of varying species. Here, veterinarian Dr. Diana Sinclair, alongside her team, performs the same repair process on this snapping turtle, who was brought in after being found on a front lawn with her shell broken. She, too, is carrying eggs. Imagine your body working overtime already to produce offspring, then going through such a traumatic experience. These mother turtles are truly tough, but they need time and care to recover, which poses the possibility that they will lay their eggs while at TWC.
So definitely set up the enclosure if we know that they're rabid and they're going to lay eggs and we think that they might do it in care. We do also have to make sure that we're taking care of their fracture sites. So the first week or so, we have to make sure that the fracture sites are perfectly aligned and they're not going to fall apart or we're not going to have any infection. So we don't place them in any water. We do a dry dock to make sure that their entire shell is outside of the water. Then over time, over care, then we can provide more of a substrate, more of a natural environment for them. If we see that they're sort of preparing to lay their eggs, then we can give them a little bit like a dig box, which is basically deeper substrate so that they can dig and make a nest.
Both turtles were monitored closely and healing well in care. A few days later, the painted turtle began to lay her eggs in her enclosure, which were then collected and moved to TWC's incubator.
So naturally in the wild, turtles, they have a sort of nesting home territory. They decide to lay their eggs in a nest and they leave and they never see them again. And it's the hope that these young little turtle babies can take care of themselves. If a turtle does lay their eggs in air, we will take the eggs and place them in a warm, safe environment, then incubate them until it's time for them to hatch, and then we'll release them to continue the next generation of these endangered animals.
The snapping turtle wasn't far behind with her eggs, laying them shortly after. The resilient adult turtles are now continuing their recovery journeys, while their eggs are safe and developing. Once each mother's fracture heals, the zip ties will be removed so they can return to the wild, mended and strong. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and make sure you hit the bell to be notified when we share new content. We would also love if you shared this video with a friend.